Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. And we are pleased to be joined by the head football coach at Mason High School. How about them Bulldogs? Gary Houghton, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you going
Thank
to be
you.
ready to say that again a lot this year?
I hope so. I hope I say it every week.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how I know the TV people like to imitate that. So that's
Yeah,
always,
they
um,
have fun.
yeah. But anyway, this is you talk about just the year that you guys had last year. Just this is a big year, more steps in the right direction, and this year's team, a lot is returning. Yes, you do lose some linemen. Yes, you do lose a receiver as well. But overall, mostly everyone is coming back.
Yeah, it's true. We lost three starters off that team from the offense. They were also starters on defense, but we have some really good kids behind them. We're very deep at wide receivers, so that one wasn't as big of a loss. We have a lot of young guys coming up to replace those linemen, so it's going to be a competition in camp, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Really just the culture that you guys have built the last few years since you've been at Mason. What has that been like? Just to see all the success that you guys have had.
Well, it's been a lot of fun because it really is something that the community has really embraced. They've really rallied around us, and it's like you said, it's our culture. It's about being part of the community. The kids love doing community service. We stress that. We're very involved in everything the community is doing. They're there to send us off when we play. We pack the stands at home games, and we travel really well. We bring a lot of fans when we go to visit other schools. So I think the culture has changed, and with that, there's accountability. The kids realize there's a standard to be upheld that comes with that.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of those kids, let's talk about some of them. Talk about some of the returners that are coming back to Mason. I know there is a lot of them, but I think for most people that watch this video, if you're familiar with Mason, you will know who almost all of these kids are.
Yeah. So, at quarterback, we're returning Kaysen Carswell.
Yeah.
Kaysen will be a junior. Um, Kaysen has broken most of the quarterback records. I think the only one that he doesn't have, well, there's two that he doesn't have, and that's career um, passing touchdowns and career passing yards. But considering he's only really had one full season at quarterback, he had a very partial season his freshman year, and then one full year as a sophomore. He shattered the season record. So, he's got a shot at breaking the all-time passing yards record as a junior with only 2 years as starting quarterback. So the kid that holds that record was a 4-year starter. So his numbers have been exceptional. He's Kaysen is a student of the game. Uh, his timing is outstanding. His velocity on the ball is excellent. I mean, he's got, Kaysen really has all the tools, and he has a lot of weapons around him. So we have Tyler Baker returning, Caleb Parrish. Those are both wide receivers. Caleb plays a little bit of tight end on offense. Derek Badgley, another one who's done a great job at wide receiver. Derek actually plays a little bit of tailback when we need him to, but he does a great job at wide receiver. Cole Reese is back, and that's a name that a lot of people don't know. They only know him for defense, and he never had a pass thrown to him last year, but he's one of our better wide receivers. So we're deep at wide receiver. I don't have any concerns there. At tailback, AJ Martell. AJ is a returning All-State tailback, so he's done a great job. And our H-back, Logan Dorr, he's another one that kind of came up on everybody's radar last year. He's also starting linebacker next to Badgley. Martell starts at free safety. Baker starts for us at the Wolf position, which is a strong safety. Parrish is a guy on defense that moves around quite a bit. We'll play him at our bear. He also plays some DN, and he also plays on the inside as the linebacker. So Caleb's probably one of our most versatile kids on defense. We can move him around. Defensive line wise, Grant Gilchrist is a returning defensive lineman. He's probably our best, and he has two older brothers that played, so he's grown up with it. He's grown up in Mason football, so he's a kid that's just really honed his craft. He's really taken it seriously, and he's had a great off season in the weight room. But getting back to our lineman, Brennan Miller is a returning starter. He's a center, also plays some tackle. Nick Sade, returning starter, plays left tackle, plays some D tackle. Then we got a couple other kids that didn't see a lot of playing time last year that really made some changes physically in the weight room that we're really anticipating some stuff out of. I think they're going to help us out. Caleb Vaughn, he's a name that a lot of people don't know. Connor Osipsik's another kid that has kind of popped up on our radar as a guy that's he's transformed himself physically. He's a much bigger, faster, stronger guy. So, a lot of pieces there, and we're excited.
Yeah. It should be a fun season, but a lot of those kids have done a lot of things, and of course you mentioned Tyler and AJ. They just both won track championships as well. What was that? What was it like to see that?
That was pretty cool, and the cool thing about watching these guys in the spring for me is it's very low stress. I just show up and watch, and I'm a fan of anybody that I love seeing our kids play more than one sport. So if you ask people, they'll say, yeah, Coach Houghton's always at a basketball game. He's always at wrestling meets. He's always at baseball games. He's at track meets. And I want to support our kids in everything they do. And I want them to play other sports. And then, the little secret that no one realizes, I actually learn a lot about these kids watching them play other sports. Um, Sometimes these are sports that they're not the best in. Sometimes they are, but when I watch them, I get to see what kind of teammate they are. How do they compete? How do they handle maybe not being the starter or being the starter? Are they the same guy in a spring or winter sport as they are for us in the fall? So I learn a lot about our kids watching them. And so between supporting them, I'm also there watching and learning. And I'm looking at the younger kids in the JV and freshman sports as well, trying to figure out how they might fit in the following year.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, the schedule is always going to be a fun thing to look at, and let's take a look at it right now. Of course, starting the 24th at home against Houghton. Let me just run through this real quick. August 31st, of course, you're at DeWitt. September 8th will be at Fowlerville. September 15th, home against Williamston. September 22nd, home against Hazlitt. September 29th, at Lansing Eastern. October 6th, home against St. John's. October 13th will be away at Walled Lake Western. And October 20th will be on the road at Fenton. So pretty good schedule. Two non-conference opponents to end the season. Of course, two really big powers in D2, of course, with Walled Lake Western and Fenton. And then, pretty interesting way to start the season off with Holt and DeWitt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most challenging schedule that we've had in a long time. We had a few schools that didn't want to re-up, and so we had to start looking for opponents in different weeks. Took us a while to find one in week 2, week 8, and week 9. Those were the most challenging weeks. We had a lot of schools tell us no. We were very, very grateful that DeWitt, Walled Lake Western, and Fenton all agreed to play us. So we're excited about our schedule. I'm a firm believer in that iron sharpens iron, and those are all good teams and good programs, and we're going to find out if we're good.
And of course, the division's always going to be tough, especially in the and correct me if I'm wrong by saying this, the CAAC Red, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
I know
Yeah.
I know there's been some moving around the last few years, and of course there's been moving around this year too, especially in the white division. But in the red, of course, it's gonna. A lot of people say it's gonna be an interesting battle between you guys, and I know Hazlitt's gonna be a really good team, but there's also Williamston's always good, and of course a
Yep.
lot of teams that. Of course, you got Fowlerville and St. John's as well as Lansing Eastern.
Yeah. So, Hazlitt and Williamston are both teams that have excellent coaching staffs and they have really good kids. So I anticipate we're going to get challenged for the league title. I mean, if we win it, if we're fortunate enough to win it, we'll have to earn it. We're not going to walk through everybody. Fowlerville usually gives us a very, very tough competitive game.
Yeah.
I understand they have a new coach, so
Yep.
I don't know what to expect yet out of Fowlerville. St. John's is always competitive. Eastern is always competitive. So I do think the last 3 or 4 years, the CAAC Red has been very, very good. Um, I think out of the CAAC Red, I think the district champions have come out of there the last couple of years. And I know Williamston in their division, which they've been 4, and then eventually recently they've been in Division 5. They've done very well in the postseason. So, when you look at it from the perspective of the postseason, I think not only is the CAAC Red very competitive, but Mid Michigan football has been very competitive. I remember in 2021, there were several teams from Mid Michigan that were in the semifinals at different divisions. So, there used to be this old saying, about the 517 not being that good and this and that. I think that's long gone. I think the bar has been raised in Mid Michigan. I think it's stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah, for sure. And feeling like, of course, you've got some pretty good teams at the front end of the schedule with Holt, and then 2 challenging road games against got DeWitt and Fowlerville. What do you
Right.
want to see out of your team the first 3 weeks? Because usually by week 3, you really kind of team coaches really kind of know what they have.
Yeah, you really do. I would say by week 3, you're you know where you stand. Now you can make some adjustments. You can still move guys around and say, well, he's better over here, he's better over here. But for the most part, you pretty much know what you have after week 3. So I, we just need to compete. We need to play hard, play fast, play smart football, block and tackle well. I mean, you and I were talking before we went live. In 7-on-7, there's 2 things that don't happen, and that's blocking and tackling. Those are 2 of the most important things in football. So, you have to get good at blocking and tackling by the time we get around to week 1. So we still have a lot of work to do.
For sure. Gary Houghton, the head coach of Mason football. Thanks so much for taking some time to join us, and best of luck to the Bulldogs this season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.